This is the Jeff and James Show, Real Estate Made Easy. And we talked about how you got your license, you're really stoked. You're out there, you're looking to hang your license somewhere, and you're thinking, wow, where do I start? And there's so many differences, right, between companies. They're all over the place.
Yeah, for sure. Real estate follows a general agent model. You have to have a broker. There's no option for you to be a broker. You just got your license. So you must find a brokerage.
Yep, that's right. And there's different models out there. And the first thing you're probably thinking about is, boy, I'm going to get, these people are going to interview me. But actually in real estate, everybody wants to interview you. Everybody wants you. You may have like 10 to 15 companies that want to interview you, right, Jane?
At least, matter of fact, I think the brokerages in their mind, they're thinking you're good for 1 or 2 sales to your friends and family in the next 24 months.
Yep.
So they don't really care where they want you to be at their broker so they can get a piece of that commission.
Yeah, that's right. So in actuality, we're kind of interviewing them, right?
That's how it should be.
That's the way it should be, right? So you're looking for certain things in a company, and they're all over the place. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the different models. And the first one, what we're going to talk about is a full service model.
Full service, like full fee.
That's full fee.
Full fee.
Yeah, full boat, man. You're paying.
Yeah, so full fee, like you're talking about like a national franchise full fee.
Yep.
Okay, so there's some of the big names: Century 21, Remax,
Yep. Coldwell
Banker, Keller Williams.
Yep.
These are kind of full service brokerages. And what does that mean, full service?
Well, when I think about full service, you're getting value and you're getting tools and products, but you're also paying a split. You're paying a split when you close transactions. And these are typically companies that are franchised. So when I say franchised, that means that there's a local franchisee in your local market. And then you have the franchisor. So James just mentioned those big companies. That would be the franchisor. And then you have the local broker, which is right here. And then you have the individual agents that fall up underneath that broker. So there's a hierarchy when we talk about full service. You got the big company, the national company, you've got the local broker, and then you got the agents.
Yeah, so this is what's called a general agency model. This follows the insurance industry, actually.
Yeah.
And broker oversees and supervises agents under them. These agents typically, maybe I shouldn't say typically, these agents could get paid anywhere from, let's say, 25% to the agent and 75% to the broker, or any variation, right? Could be 50-50, could be 75-25, could be let's say 90-10, whatever that broker believes they need to be competitive. And when I first got started, I was with, I would call it a boutique company because it was just a one-office brokerage,
right. Yeah.
But they were considered a full-service brokerage, and they had different splits based on your experience level.
Yep.
So when I first started there, I was on a 50-50 split.
50-50.
50-50. And they basically wrote me a check for $100 and said, go order your business cards and go get them, Tiger.
Wow. Now the split, we want to explain what that means. Let's say you make a commission of, $10,000.
Okay.
Right? Well, basically that means you're going to keep, in this situation, 50% of it, and the other 50% goes to that person right there, that broker. You're splitting your commission with the person you work with.
Yep.
Work for.
$10,000, $5,000, $5,000.
Yep. So when you talk about full service, what other things do you get with full service? Can you think of anything else, James? Why would we call it full service?
Well, we've got this amazing training once a month where everybody shows up. They have a guest speaker, and everybody puts a business card into the fishbowl, and they draw your name out for a $10 gift card to Starbucks, so that the guest speaker can get everybody's contact info so they can call you all month long to try to get their deals from you. And what they're going to do at this training meeting is just have a place for everyone to get together. That's what I got at my first broker.
Yeah.
What about you?
My thought on this is that there's a big value put on the name of the broker. Okay, we mentioned C21.
Okay, so
right?
the name is important, or could be important.
Right. So there's a feeling amongst agents that it's important to be a part of a big brand, and so by being a part of that brand, you're paying a little bit more to be a part of that umbrella. So your marketing would have those big companies on the marketing. And that's a big piece of why it's more expensive.
Yeah. So the name, reputation, or branding. So if you were with a company that had this big balloon, red, white, and blue balloon.
Right, yeah.
And you might feel like, hey, I need to be with this nationwide franchise because they have this reputation.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's tied to a reputation, and some people gravitate towards that. Some people are like, well, it doesn't really matter to me if I'm under a huge brand or not.
Yeah, so it could be different if you're in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and there's one major brokerage that has the bulk of the percentage of the business, like 90% of the business goes to Coldwell Banker. It might be important for you to be a Coldwell Banker.
Right. Yeah,
could be.
Exactly. Now, the other thing that's similar in all of these different franchisee models is typically you're paying, I've seen anywhere from like 3 to even 7% of a franchise fee to that broker on every transaction. So you pay an extra override on your commissions to that broker because you're helping pay for things like training and the annual conference that you're going to go to and things like that. Ooh, 10,000, yeah. So, yes, exactly. So
what he's saying, guys,
yeah,
the $10,000 comes in, and then off the top, 3 to 5%, 7% comes off, and it goes out to the franchise.
That's right.
And then the 50-50 split. So that this franchise gets paid on every deal.
Yep, it's off the top.
Now, here's a little hidden secret that most people don't know. The broker who's participating in the franchise, they typically get a check back for half of this franchise fee. So if it's 7%, they get about 3.5% of it back as additional revenue for them.
That's right.
But the agents don't know it. But now you know, because you're part of Real Estate Made Easy, we want you to understand it.
Yep, this is great. This is so good, James.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch gears. Let's go to the flat fee model.
All right, flat fee.
Did we cover everything here?
Enough to give people an overview.
Yes.
Again, could it be important to you which broker? It's always important which broker. Should you start your own broker? Maybe. We'll talk about that when you hit the 3-year mark and you consider becoming a broker yourself.
Yeah, so this is what we're going to call
Flat
the
fee.
flat fee model. Okay?
So over the years, there was a change competitively in the marketplace, and some brokers said, you know what? We want to compete for more business and more agents, and so we'll just come up with a flat fee model, and the agents under us, instead of being on a split, they just pay us a flat fee.
That's right. And I've seen them literally as low as $99 a deal. I've really seen this. I've seen it at $250.
Sure.
These are all just different, per deal, per transaction. These are pretty low fees, right? And people automatically are like, oh my gosh, I want to check that out. I'd only have to pay $250 a transaction. Man, that looks good.
Yeah. So that if you've got your $10,000 coming in, and you've only got either $99 coming off or $250, again, these are flat fees, right? So you see how it impacts you, the agent. Your take-home check is much different when you're paying these flat fees.
Right. Now, what I would see is when you start looking at differences, these are typically not companies that put a high premium on culture.
Okay.
Or possibly community. These companies have a mission of getting as many agents as possible.
Okay, so it sounds like a volume model.
That's what it is.
Okay, so volume. That's kind of like, I think of the Walmart way.
Yeah.
A volume.
It's volume
business, right? So they're going to make $1 on every deal, and they need to do thousands and thousands of them to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But in exchange for that, the support is equal to about the dollar, right? So again, if you're only getting $99 in support or $250 in support, you're not expecting a whole lot.
No, you're not. You're not, unless you're in a company that has thousands of agents. And that's where it starts to tip the scales a little bit. You'll start to see more value and more tools when companies get so big, because the monthly fees that agents pay, even if they're paying as little as like $25 a month, well, if you have 5,000 people in a brokerage, they're all paying $25,000 or $25 a month. What's that? That adds up, right?
It adds up pretty fast.
It's $100K, right?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different models. One of the things that might be a little bit different and hard to understand is if you're coming from an employee where you didn't have these options. There was no negotiation on what your income, like There's the job. We're going to pay you this many dollars an hour, and you go stand here and do the job.
Right.
Now you're quasi self-employed, you're an independent contractor, and you have this ability to decide where am I going to hang my license and how much of the commission am I going to keep and how much am I going to share with my broker in exchange for value.
That's right.
Are they going to provide
That's right.
training? Do they provide leads? Do they pay for the signs, or do I got to pay $100 a sign? Do they pay for the lock boxes, or do I have to pay $125 a lock box?
That's right.
So these are all critical pieces to understand. And when you're brand new and getting started, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know. And a lot of people, we're trying to be objective when we look at all these models,
Sure.
right? And the person that would like this model is probably somebody that doesn't need a lot of oversight, and they're probably really concerned about keeping their costs very low, and they probably don't want a lot of masterminding or brainstorming or, I would think, community within the brokerage. I don't think that's an important value to them.
Well, for me, I got started with this boutique company, and they also had a property management company, so I started out showing rentals. But I was on a 60-40 split.
Okay.
And they gave me 60% and they kept 40%, and they provided signs and they provided lock boxes.
Right, yeah.
They had training, meaning I could go ask questions, but there were no formal classroom.
Right.
They had assigned a kind of a mentor, but I had to pay him a little bit, like 5% of my commission in exchange for him answering my questions. And it worked out for a period of time. And then after about the 1 year mark, I went to new home sales, which is a whole different model. And then I went back to that brokerage, and they had decided to go from a boutique to become a Century 21 franchise office.
Right.
So they still had the 60-40 split, but then they added the 7% franchise fee. And of course, by then I learned they were getting half of it back as an extra revenue stream.
That's right.
So the thing that changes is you being aware, I'm new to real estate, I probably need mentoring and training, I need coaching, I need to have someone answer the phone when I have a question. I can't even tell you guys how many times I talk to agents and they say, the reason I'm looking to change companies is because my current broker tells me, go to Google and go to YouTube for the answers to my questions.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And real estate can be pretty local.
Yeah.
And every board is different, and every state has different forms, and you may need specific answers to specific scenarios, and so that doesn't always work for you. YouTubing your questions don't always work.
Yeah, yeah. Now let me just say this, the big difference between that first model and this one, if you just look at numbers alone, that first model, if you look at the scenario where you have a 70-30 split, typically when you have these splits, you have what's called a cap. We forgot to mention that. Let's say this is a cap, so every time you get a commission, you give 30% to the company. Well, that 30% chips away at this number, and when it eradicates this number, then you don't have to pay that split, that 30% anymore, for the remainder of the anniversary year when you started.
Wow.
Now, this is really important to know. So when you're comparing numbers and you're comparing how many deals do I think I can do in a flat fee model versus how many am I going to do in this model, there usually is a cap to these. You're not going to pay 70-30 in perpetuity. You're going to hit a cap, and then you're going to be paying a very reasonable fee.
So let's
you
apply
have to
this.
start. Yeah,
Let's apply this. We got a $10,000 commission. I'm on a 70-30 with a 16K cap, and I've seen caps to 24,000.
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen
right.
them 30,000.
That's right.
Believe me. So 7,000 to me, 3,000 to them until they've received their 16,000. Then
That's right.
this can change to what?
It's a very nominal fee. Let's say it's $75 or $250.
So then it would be 100% to the agent plus a transaction fee, and let's just say $300 plus or minus.
Sure.
Okay?
There you go.
So I'm 70-30 with a $16,000 cap until the company has gotten their $16,000. That's what my seat represents in their firm.
That's right.
And then once they get their $16,000, then I go 100% to me minus a transaction fee plus, or $300 plus or minus a few dollars.
That's right.
So they're still making revenue, but until I hit that $16,000 cap, they're just printing money.
That's right.
As long as I'm working.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing. When I first started the company I was at, all this was true. It was 60-40, but here was the kicker. You ready for this? It was $50 a month if you didn't sell a house a month.
Oh.
So they didn't want you just hanging out, using their electricity, drinking their coffee, and using the toner and the paper in the office. They estimated it cost them at least $50 a month to have you hanging out at the office.
Yeah.
And so that's what it cost you if you didn't get an escrow.
Right. Interesting.
So again, as we shift from an employee to a business owner in an entrepreneurial sense, we have to start taking into account what are our income and expense models that we're considering. So flat fee is one way to go. Generally, people go there after they have a couple of years experience. And I went to a company like this that was $25 a month and 100% income to me.
That's right.
And it was about a $250 transaction fee.
And you know what's interesting? When people go to these models and they feel like, okay, I'm good now, I understand real estate, I don't need any help anymore, I'm going to go to this, they typically don't grow.
No.
They don't grow their business because they're focused on cost only versus, driving the revenue.
Yeah, it's a difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. There's a big difference there.
Yes. Now there's another model. Before we touch on the hybrid model, there's another model. I'm going to call it the tenant-landlord model. Okay, you see this sometimes as well, where you have, I'm going to call it a tenant-landlord model, and this is where you pay, let's say $800 to like $1,200 a month, whether you close a deal or not.
Oh, I've heard of these.
Yeah.
I've never worked at one, but I know someone who has.
And let's say you spend about 5% of your commission and you send that to the company as well, and we'll put that up there. So you're basically coming out of pocket. What's 1,200 times 12? It's what is it? $15,000 a year.
Right.
It's interesting because it's very similar to the caps
Right.
that you'd find in a full service model.
Yeah, they're just explaining it differently. We're getting our income at things like you're renting a desk, if you will.
Right. So because of this model, what happens is the person that's managing you, the broker, they don't really care if you do a deal or not. They
get their money whether you sell or not.
Right. So there's no culture, there's no training, just good luck,
Let me tell you, here's a great analogy or a great scenario to have. I currently am working with a guy, and he was working in a scenario like this. He was paying about $1,200 a month, and the more deals he would sell, the more upset the broker would get because the staff would have to do more work on his transactions because he was thinking, well, I'm paying $1,200 a month, whether I do one deal or 20, I might as well do 20.
Yeah.
And it would create more work on the staff because the broker we haven't talked about this much, the broker must supervise you. All your paperwork, all your contracts have to go through the broker. They're your supervisor.
Yep. And these are things we learn after 20 years in business, right? I've seen this too, where in the full cap model, after they've paid their $16,000, let's say they're just doing tons of deal. As a broker, you're like, man, this is you're not making money on that.
You don't make us any more money. You capped out, or we got your $1,200, and you've done 10 deals this month. Stop, because we don't want to do any more work for you.
That's right.
So again, you just have to understand the kind of business model that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's shift to a model that we're currently in. Actually, right now, this is a model that we are in. Let's talk about what we call a hybrid model.
Yeah, let's talk about hybrid.
So hybrid is really something where we think it's the best of all worlds. In our situation, we have an 80-20 split, which we believe is really reasonable. We also have a cap of $16,000 in our business. There is a $85 a month fee, whether you close a deal or not. So you're going to pay for education and technology and support from the company. We also have other incentives, which we can go over, which are really cool in our company. Yeah. But this is the basic fee structure. What else do you think on that? What am I missing on that, James?
No, I think you have the fee structure right. So it's $85 a month flat fee, and that's training, support, and technology. And then you've got 80-20, 80% to the agent, 20% back to the broker on all your deals. And then you've got this 20% is only in play until you reach the $16,000 cap, like we explained earlier.
Yep.
Now, why do people like the hybrid?
Well, they like it. One reason is because if you don't close a deal in this month, you're going to pay $85 a month.
So you've limited your expenses to $85.
That's right.
Okay.
And with this, we know what our output's going to be every year. We know it's going to take in our market, what would you say, James, 7 to 8 transactions?
Sure.
And it's something that's manageable. There's something that also is a big piece of it, and that is in our company, we have probably at least 8+ training sessions a day all in the cloud.
Okay, did you say a day?
A day.
There's not enough hours in the day to
Right.
do 8 trainings.
I know,
That's
right?
8 hours or more of training.
Yeah.
How do you do any work?
Well, here's the thing. The cool thing about where we work is that it's a national company, but not a franchise. So we get to actually go into our virtual world, and we get to actually look at training from people around the country. Now, when you do it, that's the challenge, right? We always should be earmarking time to do training.
Yeah.
But we get training not just from our local marketplace, not from our local people in the
Okay, so
brokerage.
it's not just people in my city that
Right.
are part of my group, like my local, Anytown USA, the top guy in my office.
Right.
This would be the top guy within my company anywhere in the country.
That's right.
Is going to be putting on a training like how to work with sellers.
That's right.
Or how to go after for sale by owners. Or how to have buyer representation.
Yep.
How to write an offer and get it accepted.
Yeah.
Okay, so the best of the best across the country are putting on these trainings, and that's all included
Yeah.
as part of my structure.
Yeah, the top of agents are giving training every day, and sometimes I've seen up to 15 sessions a day. And in our model, they're actually on demand as well. So
Okay.
if you can't do it
Oh,
during
so they're
the day,
recorded, you can
yeah.
watch replays.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
So the thing that I personally like about the hybrid model is this training component's critical because, again, it's a whole new industry for many of us, second career guys, but also we're getting kind of best practices and unique strategies from anywhere in the country. The other thing that I really like about it is that I never feel like I'm alone, meaning that I can pretty much work with anybody across any state lines as part of the same company because we're a hybrid in all the states in the United States as well as a couple of different countries around the world.
That's right.
So I've got now this built-in network of people to refer to even within my own company as opposed to not really knowing the standards and the training that's going on in other companies.
That's right.
I mean, I'm sure they're nice agents in, Austin, Texas, and Pensacola, Florida, but I'd rather it be within my own company.
That's right. And that goes into another topic. You want to look for a company where you also have the ability to make more money even outside of a sales transaction. It's nice to be able to have other ways to make money.
Yeah.
And in our particular model, we do have those additional opportunities. You can buy stock at a company discount,
Yeah.
which is like amazing.
Yeah.
In an industry where that just is pretty much unheard of.
Sure. Yeah.
And then also, and many companies have incentive programs.
Yeah.
To bring on other agents.
Yeah.
And that's just 2 other ways to make additional money.
Yeah, so the great thing about hybrids is, as the name says, they've looked at how a traditional broker works, the general agent model.
Yep.
They've looked at how a franchise works. They've looked at so for example, let's say here in our state. Typically, a traditional broker or franchise would have a master franchise.
That's right.
And they would sell that master franchise license for a fee, and then everybody else that wanted to open their own office or branch office under the master franchise, well, they'd have to pay a fee to the master franchise license holder.
Yep.
And what the hybrid model has done is said, you know what? Let's not sell a master franchise license. What we'll do is we will give the agents the ability to be part owners in the company. And I think that's what really makes it exciting for a lot of people is because not only am I an agent, but I'm an owner agent. So I care how the company spends the money. I care what kind of training goes on. And I have a bigger voice in the company as opposed to just being an agent, take it or leave it.
Yep. And in our company, we've obviously been the pioneer of this concept where you have this local brand, and we do not have brick and mortar. We have eliminated it in our model. So because we also want to have the agent as owners get more profitability. So the more that we eradicate all of this expense in the middle, a lot of the middle management, a lot of the fat that gets spent on things that aren't important, this is now out of the picture. And now we realize that the future of real estate is not in brick and mortar. We've known this for years.
Yeah.
As you and I have both managed hundreds of
Sure.
people. 20 years ago, people would come into the office and call people. It doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
It's crickets.
Well,
so there's no need for brick and mortar. Now we know that we do business meetings in coffee shops and title companies and mortgage companies.
Well, I think the thing to understand, guys, when Jeff's saying brick and mortar, what he's saying is that your broker needs an office space. And that means they enter into a commercial lease scenario for a brick and mortar office, and they will sign a 3, 5, or even a 10-year lease that they're going to pay rent on that office space, whether there's any agent selling or whether there's 1,000 agents selling every month. They got to pay that rent check. And because we've eliminated brick and mortar, we don't have that expense, and you're working from home or you're working from the local Regis office. That's or right. Quite honestly, guys, most of the time I'll work from a vacant house.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even need an office. I work from my car. I work from a vacant house. I go where my customers are, right? If I go to a listing appointment, I'm in the seller's home. So I don't really need an office per se. Right. And I do have a desk at home. So it's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
And it adds to my tax write-off. So.
That's right. So we've tried to, in this model, there's a lot of different things that we've taken the best of the best in these different models, and we've really cut a new mold, which we believe is we're the pioneer in it. So, if you want to learn more, let us know. We'd love to tell you about it. But it's really a low risk, high return venture, which I love.
Yeah. So no office lease, no office space. Now, in our hybrid scenario, if you have a team and you want to have a team office, not a big deal. If you want to go do that, there's a lot of go rent an office space, $300-400 a month, put 3-4 people in an office, not a big deal. But it's not required. As opposed to a traditional brokerage, you'll go down to the Century 21 office. You go down to the Remax office and you're there in their office and they got to pay that lease. So that's totally different. Again, you've got full service, you got franchise, which is full service. You've got flat fee, and you've got a hybrid model. And there's probably, guys, another 100 other models to come. But if you have questions about it, reach out to us, contact us, let us know. We'd be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, I mean, before you go out and interview brokers, start thinking to yourself, what would be the right fit for me, right? Yeah. Start thinking about that and maybe ask questions of your mentor, and you'll start to get a good idea of where you fit in perfectly in these models.
Yeah, kind of like in 2 years, where do you think your business will be? In 5 years, where will your business be? I don't recommend you change brokers every 18 months. That's probably not the best strategy. I will tell you this. People are buying you. Does your broker matter? It can matter. Yeah, if your broker has a bad reputation in town, you need to find those things out. So it's really important. I'm glad we had the chat. Yep. Let us know if you have questions.